Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here today. So a year ago, I think even more than a year ago, I filmed two videos and they were books that are better than their adaptations, and then another video, adaptations that I think were better than the books. Now today, more than a year later, I am finally filming part 3 of that series, and that is books that I think are just as great as their adaptations. And I'm very excited to talk to you about these. I have picked 10. There are more, but I feel like these 10 are really just some of my absolute favorites. The first one is the first one that I immediately wrote down on this list because it's so clear and easy and obvious that the adaptation is just as brilliant as the book, and that is Sally Rooney's Normal People. So this book is one of my favorite books ever, and it was turned into a Hulu miniseries, and the miniseries was fantastic. It was everything that the book was. It was just as heartbreaking, just as heartwarming, just as powerful and profound and beautiful and honest, and it felt so real, just like the book. The characters felt so authentic, and so did the actors portraying them. Paul Mescal plays Connell, and Daisy Edgar-Jones plays Marianne. Because these two roles were their first major roles in cinema, it really felt like, because I didn't know them as actors, it really felt like they were the characters. Everything happened in the book, happened in the show, and it was just done so beautifully well, and I have no critique, I have nothing to say about it other than wonderful positive things. So yes, let me know if you agree with this and with all of the rest of the ones that I talk about today, but I just adore Normal People. I think it's such a beautiful and authentic portrayal of love in your 20s and love through university and love through your life, and figuring yourself out in your 20s I think is such a difficult but beautiful time in your life, because you're just sort of trying to figure yourself out. I'm 25 and I am just trying to figure myself out, just trying to figure life out and the right paths to go down and all of that fun stuff. So I think that it's really beautifully represented in this book, and the adaptation is just as stunning. So yeah, I love Normal People. The next one is another favorite, of course, and that is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. This was turned into a movie with Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer and a bunch of other amazing actors, and again, I have nothing to say except wonderful things about both the book and the movie. They're both so beautiful and cinematic, and just the aesthetic, just the colors and the scenery and everything about the book and the movie is perfect. And reading the book, like, the words and the writing felt so poetic and so beautiful and breathtaking, and that's exactly how it felt in the movie, but obviously more visual. And I think that's the beautiful thing about reading something, is you get to visualize how you imagine it in your mind. And you can kind of be the director and the costume designer and the set designer and everything, the makeup artist, the hairstylist, and you can design the world in your mind. And then it's equally exciting to see the book come to life in someone else's viewpoint, and to see how else someone can view the same story. And it can also, I think, the one thing that I do think about book to movie adaptations is, once I see the adaptation, I feel like that's how I see it from then on. Like, sometimes I can kind of forget how I first visualized it before watching the adaptation. But with such a beautiful movie like Call Me By Your Name, I am not complaining at all. I love that I get to visualize it the way that they visualized it in the film, and it's just such an incredible book, such an incredible movie. Again, about beautiful, honest love set in northern Italy during the 80s, and it just has that vibe. It's just the perfect summery book. It's just sun-drenched, and so is the movie, and I love it so much. This next one has been a favorite for years, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This, again, is another amazing adaptation. I, again, feel like I have nothing bad to say about it. They didn't leave out any scenes at least in my memory. I haven't read this and watched the movie in quite a while, but I remember when I read the book for the first time, I just fell so in love with the story, and then when I watched the movie adaptation again, I was just blown away. I felt like it was such a true and authentic adaptation, and they kept the heart of the story, they kept the soul of the story, and it just felt so true again. Like, it felt so true to what the book was and what Stephen Chbosky wanted to portray, wanted to say in the book, and I think it was just such a beautiful adaptation. Emma Watson has an American accent in the movie adaptation, and that always like freaks me out because she will always be Hermione Granger to me and hearing her with an American accent just always makes my mind go like, what? But yeah, it was a beautiful adaptation. Logan Lerman plays the main character of Charlie. He is the perfect Charlie. Beautiful book, beautiful adaptation. This next one is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Gregory Peck has been one of my favorite actors for years. I really love classic movies. I also love Gregory Peck in Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn. That's one of my favorite movies. But yes, we are talking about To Kill a Mockingbird. Again, it's such an incredible adaptation, so true to the book. Sometimes with book-to-movie adaptations, the feeling that you got with reading the book can kind of be lost sometimes in the way that they adapt it, or maybe they change the scenes around, or maybe they change how you imagined the characters to be, or something like that, and sometimes it just changes your feeling, like you have separate feelings towards the book and the movie. You might even enjoy them on the same level, but they just feel different. All of these feel very true, and like the same feeling that I had with the book, I had with the adaptation. It's so great. If you haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird, I highly recommend it. I feel like it's one of those classics that you read in high school, that even if you didn't enjoy it in high school, absolutely read it when you're older, read it out of high school, read it for yourself, read it for fun. It's such a beautiful and powerful story. The adaptation is just so great. Oh, it's just so great. And if you love classic movies like I do, this one is a great classic movie and a great modern classic book, I would say. This is from the Vintage Red Spine series. I love this edition so much. It's so beautiful. This cover is just gorgeous. But yes, so To Kill a Mockingbird has been a favorite for years and still is. This next one, I feel like I'm just going to keep repeating myself about it being exactly, like the book and the adaptation are exactly the same to me, and that is A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. I am talking about the adaptation with Helena Bonham Carter. Oh gosh, this book just is springtime to me. The scenery is incredible, and it's exactly how I imagined it in my mind when I was first reading it. The characters are so beautiful. The actors did such a great job with portraying the characters. They're exactly how you would imagine them to be, and they're so honest to like the written characters, and the costume design, the set design, the scenery in Florence and in England. Everything about this film is gorgeous. Everything about the book is also gorgeous, and I feel like E.M. Forster would be so proud of that adaptation. This next one, I couldn't not put on this list because it truly is my childhood, and these books mean so much to me. They've meant so much to me for years now, and the movies mean so much to me as well, and that's Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. This is the first book, The Philosopher's Stone. This is the UK edition, but we as Americans grew up with the Sorcerer's Stone. There's not much to say. It's Harry Potter, and I feel like that kind of speaks for itself. Hogwarts is our home. I am a very proud Ravenclaw. Funny little anecdote. I went to the post office the other day, and are my glasses here? No, I think they're in the other room. But I have glasses that aren't like the Harry Potter glasses, but they're like slightly round. And I feel like if you have slightly round glasses, everyone will tell you that you resemble Harry Potter, or that they are like Harry Potter glasses. Anyway, I was at the post office, and the woman behind the counter looks at me, and I see her all the time because I go to the post office all the time because I have an Etsy shop, and I send out your orders to my post office all the time. And so she sees me and she looks at me and she goes, "You look like the one from Harry Potter." And I was like, "Which one?" And she goes, "Harry." And she was like, obviously a female version, but like, I think it's the glasses. I was like, thanks. I was like, I thought she was gonna say Hermione or something. I'm like, okay. So apparently I resemble Harry Potter when I wear my glasses. Great. I'm going to take it as a compliment. This next one is another fantastic book, another fantastic adaptation, of course, and that is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This book is incredible. The movie is incredible. I will say, out of all of these books, I think this is the one that has the most differences between the story, like the original book, and the adaptation. I do think they do take some artistic liberties, but I think the ones that they took were very well done, and I don't have any problem with them. Of course, the movie is stop motion animation, and that is one of my favorite kinds of animation. I think that the artistry behind stop motion is incredible. So of course there is so much artistry behind writing a book and the world that you are creating just with words, and the worlds that you are creating, the images you're creating, the characters and the people you're creating. There's so much artistry in that. And then stop motion animation, it's like making that physically and then having it come to life. It just blows my mind. And I love this adaptation so much. I would watch it constantly while I was at uni with my roommate Laura. This was one of our favorite books and one of the movies that we always bonded over, and we loved watching it every Halloween season. And just, there is so much heart in this book and in the movie, and there's just so much sentimentality in it, and I love it very, very much. It has a very warm and lovely place in my heart. And if you haven't read it, if you haven't watched it, I would recommend waiting for the autumnal season, because I feel like that just fits the mood the most. But it's a fantastic book. Neil Gaiman is so great, and the adaptation is also incredible and so great. This next one is Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. I have only seen the Netflix series Anne with an E. I haven't seen the older ones. I think they're from the 80s. But, I am watching the first one this Wednesday. So today is Monday. I'm going to be watching it on Wednesday with my best friend Michelle. We have been meaning to watch it together for so long, and we are now finally doing it. So anyway, I think Anne with an E is a fantastic adaptation, though very different. It doesn't really stick very much to everything that happens in the actual Anne of Green Gables series, but I think the artistic liberties that they do take were beautiful and wonderful, and it had the essence of who Anne was, and her personality and her voice and just her spirit is in that adaptation. But they do change a lot about it, and it does feel a bit more like modern, even though it's not modern. They just touch a bit more on like modern themes that aren't really addressed in the original book, if that makes sense. But I do really feel like it has the spirit of the book, and the scenery is gorgeous. The actors do such an incredible job, and I just love Anne with an E. It was such a comfort show when I was going through uni. Whenever I had evening classes, I would always eat dinner like at school in the little like dining area, and I would always bring my iPad and play Anne with an E while I had my dinner really quickly in between classes, and that is such a fond memory. And yeah, my heart, like all of these books, is just in this book and in that adaptation, and I really love it very much. But I'm excited to watch the 80s adaptation. I think it's from the 80s, and I'll let you know what I think. The second to last adaptation and book that I want to talk to you about is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. The adaptation that I grew up with, George C. Scott, I think is the actor's name, and I also really love the Jim Carrey Disney adaptation, the animated one. I watched that one in the movie theaters in 3D, and that was such a cool experience. I miss going to see movies when you're like a kid, and then it's 3D and you're so excited and you get the glasses, and it's just such a thrilling experience. But yes, A Christmas Carol is one of my favorite books. I try to read it every year. I didn't read it in 2023. Oops. Yeah, those two adaptations, I grew up watching the George C. Scott one, and it was so great. And again, very true to the story. They kind of, it's quite a short book, and I think most adaptations stick pretty closely. What adaptation is your favorite of Christmas Carol? I would like to know. Then my last book to movie adaptation that I love so much is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. This is in the Chronicles of Narnia series, of course, and I grew up watching the adaptation and then I read the book. And when I first read the book, I was so surprised by how close the adaptation was. This is another one that I feel like the spirit of the book is really captured in the spirit of the adaptation. Again, it's so sentimental, it's so nostalgic for me because I grew up loving the story. I think that it was very true to the original, and it was just so great and lovely and one of my favorites, of course, which is why it's on this list. I just think it's a really beautiful adaptation, like all of these. So let me know if you agree with me, if you think the adaptations are just as great as these books. I would really love to know. I would also love to know if there are any other book to movie adaptations that you love equally that I haven't mentioned. So definitely let me know in the comments. I would really love to hear that. And then if there are any that I haven't seen or haven't read, then I'll definitely put them on my list. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed finally me filming the third part of this series that I meant to film more than a year ago. So anyway, better late than never. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for being here and always being so wonderful and lovely. I will see you very soon in another video. And as always, happy reading.